Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Slant.
Yeah, but isn't this the unplugged version? I don't know. I think it's the unplugged version. All right, Paulie, let's go. All right, listen, y'all. Just go ahead and let the guest play. Come on, jeez. That's better. Gotta go.
Happy Monday, everyone. Good morning, good day, good evening, whatever that time of day is for you on this Monday. It is the Latino Slant, Paulie here. Hope you are all doing well. Yeah, we are having a special slant, a box office report. We'll probably go for about an hour. But before I bring in my guests, Pablo and Deigo from Midnight's Edge Espanol, what I'd like to do is give some shout outs to members of the channel. Glogo, he leveled up to, and thank you very much. Very kind of you. I believe you leveled up to general. Let me double check, but and I know we have some members here in the chat as well. So what I'm doing is sending off a couple of new gifts to people who have like leveled up recently. It's just my little way of thanking you guys for just supporting the slant. It's pretty amazing, and I can't thank you enough. Well, I can thank you a little bit, and yeah, Glogo leveled up to general. So, my friend, thank you so much. I got this movie here for you that I'm going to send. It's Kenneth Castillo's Sideways. It's for you. I'll write you a little note, my friend. And, well, the note's already written, so I just got to put it in there. And also, too, new members Steph the Alternate, E. Clay Thompson, Darth Haster. Thank you for becoming soldiers the last few weeks. And Chef Nation became a captain. And Chef, if you're watching this, whether it's live or later, I have sent you this book called Throw. It's by Ruben Degadillo. I am just about finished reading it. I will give my review this week and then hopefully have him on the show in a couple of weeks. But sent this out to you, buddy. Chef Nation, thank you for being a Capitan. And finally, this package is already done. Mr. CCDV, well, I don't want to show the address. Mr. CCDV got a CD. He won the other day. He's a member of the channel as well. So big shout outs to you guys. Like I said, we're going to go about an hour before Midnight's Edge in the morning starts. And we want to encourage all you guys to get over there. Let's say hello to member Darth Haster. And thank you, the Orange Canara, for being here, as well as D-Bud. And another awesome member of the channel, it's Courtney. Hey, I'm gonna send you an email. I want to connect with a buddy of yours to get on the show. But I hope you're well. And there he is. Well, right on time, man. What's up, Tom? What is Malignant? Is it about a tumor? It is about a tumor. Tumor gone wild. Oh my God. Hey, guys, share the link. Let people know we're here. We're here. As soon as I'm done saying my hellos, we're going to bring the boys in. Mark D with the C. What's up, buddy? So it's not a tumor. No, it is a tumor. It is a crazy tumor. that is a horror film. Tuma. I still never received anything from Longo. Oh, would have made it. All right, thanks for putting me on blast. Hey, all right, I'm gonna look around. I'm gonna get you something. Here, I'm gonna give you this hat. No, you're not getting any of my hats. Wookie. I don't know one person who's actually seen this movie. Which one? Malignant? Oh, I saw it this weekend, and a few people have seen it. Donkey Source Rex, the Thread of a Throne has a Thunder Rosa aesthetic going on. It's Throw. The book is Throw, and yeah, it's pretty. It's a great cover. It is. I'm like halfway through it. I love it. I love it, and Ruben is I'm very very happy that he's connected with us. Hail, just another red shirt. ¿Qué pasó? All right, I think that is everyone as far as people. Shang Chi, I bet outside of YouTube, neither have I. You know what? You guys are having a conversation. I'll let you have it. And Eric, hello. Share the link, everyone. We're here for about an hour, bringing in our roundtable of experts. I'm still waiting for them, but in the meantime, Deigo and Pablo are here.
Hola. A la reja.
How are you, gentlemen? How was your weekend?
It was fine. I was able to see finally Shang Chi.
That's right. You finally saw it.
Yep.
Yeah. And did you enjoy yourself?
I actually had fun because, weirdly enough, since I didn't feel like a Marvel movie, I felt like a Kung Fu movie. I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool. And did you see it in a big theater? Good movie experience.
Yes. But one funny thing about it, I had to see the dub version, and I think the dub version is superior to the dub actor in Spanish is superior to Simu's voice.
Yes.
In English.
That's cool. Oh God, I'd love to see that.
Because when I saw it, I'm not kidding you. Like the clips that we saw Shang-Chi talk about in English, right? In commercials.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw the movie in Spanish. Okay. The voice actor was bringing it. He was putting more emotion to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I think, why I was more into the story, into everything, because there was more emotion in the characters and everything. Like everybody, there was not a single flaw in the voice acting here, at least for once.
Yeah.
Oh,
cool. Great, man. So, what do you give it on the scale of 1 to 10 then? I mean, we've
honestly,
reviewed it, and but now that you've seen it,
for me, I would give it a low 7. Okay, because in full honesty, I had fun, yes, but this is not a movie that I would say, yes, I can watch again, like soon. Mm-hmm. I can see myself, saying, yeah, let's watch it again, maybe next month or in a couple of months,
Sure.
I don't have that feeling to like other movies.
Yeah. Since Tom is in the, I wonder if he got around to see it or not. Tommy, did you see it or not? I know they did this epic table read of Batman, the script from Keaton's Batman, on Midnight's Edge After Dark. So if you guys want to get some entertainment, put it on in the background where you're hanging out. But it's up there, and I need to listen to it as well.
The best part for me for that was that they brought Pete from Creepy Little Book. Oh God,
that's who I want. That's who I want. I want Pete to come on the slant and we talk about like Aztecs and Mayans.
Yeah. I know they brought him because his narration voice was so fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so he hasn't seen it yet, and like Tom was saying, outside of people on YouTube, no one else I know has seen it or even wants to go. I don't want to go alone. Aww.
Actually, that touches a point that I was mentioning about.
Before you get into that, I feel like we need to play something for Tom.
Let's see.
Like, I don't know. What do you think? What should we play for Tom? Make him feel better. Make him feel better.
Dancing Dog.
Dancing Dog? Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's good because this is for all the members as well.
I love that book.
Yay! Yeah, I just didn't want to bother you, Tom, about Pete, and I know Courtney's real tight, and anyways,
Yeah.
I'll reach out. Thank you so much, and thanks for being here, everybody. Couple other people. Punk Waddle is here. Rory Mitchell. Many movies today are a figurative tumor on the industry as a whole. Ooh,
Mhm.
very insightful. Jacob Caldonian son. Good morning. Good morning. Make sure all you guys are subscribed to us here on The Slant and Midnight's Edge. Espanol, por favor. I think I have Haster. And just another red shirt. I think I have a couple wrenches in the chat. If you can grab Midnight's Edge Espanol, Midnight's Edge After Dark, grab those links. Let's promote the family of channels. That'd be awesome. Okay, do you have numbers for me this weekend, Diego?
Yes. I'm sharing it, so.
All right, here we go.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what you're watching here is a comparative chart of domestic sales for tickets for Shang Chi, Black Widow, Godzilla, Mortal Kombat, and Paw Patrol.
Okay,
Just for a hell of
I
it.
thought we were gonna do the regular weekend, and then we're gonna get to this.
Okay.
Let's do the regular weekend first, if that's cool with you.
Yep. Give me a sec.
Okay. Sure.
Wait.
And again, please share the link. Let people know we're here. It is. We'll see about doing this. I always love a Monday morning, but before
There we
Midnight's
go.
Edge. It's got to be before. Okay, what do we got? We got Shang Chi. Okay, go for it, Diego.
Okay,
Go for it.
this is the weekend domestic chart, as the name says. We have number 1, Shang Chi. Number 2, Free Guy. Number 3, Malignant. Number 4, Candyman. And number 5, Jungle Cruise. And there is Paw Patrol, the movie. Paw Patrol.
Oh, Paw Patrol. Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, so I saw Malignant this weekend, and I
Mhm.
heard it cost $40 million to make, and it's a horror film. Was it James Wan? Am I getting
Something Wong.
the director? Anyways, it doesn't look like it did well there, Diego.
No,
Yeah.
it did about a little bit over an eighth of its budget. Okay, which for most people to understand in movie terms, like if a movie only does a fraction of its budget on its opening weekend, the strong weekend, right? That means it's gonna have a bit of a trouble trying to get the steam to keep going and to at least cover the budget and make a profit. So that's where we see a new movie. What happens when it doesn't get the traction? Also, from my understood
James
quality, it
Wan,
wasn't funny.
James Wan is the director.
Also, I was gonna ask, that movie was supposed to be a horror, but it turned out to be rather comedic, didn't it?
Well, some will say that it's what. Yes, some will say they got it, and some will say, "What the hell was that?" And the ones that got it, that are claiming that it's brilliant, are already comparing it to the Evil Dead or Nightmare on Elm Street. I think that's what he was going for. I'm not sure I bought it. But what I appreciate is how bonkers this movie is. I mean, I think we were expecting a straight horror flick, right? We got something more.
But I mean, taking advantage of what you said, some people got it, some people didn't. That's like an example of why, for example, this movie, even though it's new and it's opening weekend, it didn't have such a strong performance because it didn't connect to the audience. Okay. And why I mentioned that? Because look at our the star of the moment, Shang Chi. Okay. We have right now in the US a total gross of $145 million.
Okay, is that a lot?
To put it into perspective, if what we understand from the budget is between around 250 to 300 million, right? In its 2 weekends, it already has covered almost half its budget. If we're going on the high side, okay, this is without taking account marketing. Okay, so it has had a strong performance compared to what people were projecting it would have. Because let's remember, people were estimating from the lows of 25 million all the way to what it reached at the end, around $90 million in its opening weekend. So
the drop off I see is what, 60. What's the drop? Yeah, what is that number?
this is from the last week. It's a drop off of 53% compared to last week. But this is from total gross, only the week.
Okay, so what was the drop off of Black Widow?
Around,
from week to week, wasn't it a lot more?
Yes, around almost, I think between 70 and 80%.
Yep. Just let me get that data for you.
While you do that, I have some. Yeah, while you do that, I have some super chats, and really want to thank these guys for Mr. Tickle Trunk for $5 Canadian. It's I believe that's a Shiba Inu clapping, saying bravo, yay. And our buddy and also fine member of the Latino Slantinos, the Valiant Renegade. This guy is so valiant that he's been killing it on his channel. Congratulations, my brother. Got monetized. He's blazing it. And been doing a great job on Doomcock. And also, too, but more importantly, him and his family are safe in Louisiana. God bless you and your family, my brother, for $5. Hail, Paulie. Oh, yeah. Malignant was a box office fail, but this was part of the Warner Brothers calculation of taking losses this year to boost HBO Max. Oh, because it is on HBO Max right now, correct?
Yep.
Right.
So, Paulie, I
please.
I have the data. It lost 68%.
You're talking about Black Widow.
Black Widow.
Oh, yeah. And here we go. We got 65 drop, but they had the Premier Access money flooding in. Okay, what does that all mean, guys?
Okay. First thing, the 65%.
Thank you, Valiant. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The 65% is basically meaning that from week 1 to week 2, if you take the weekend, right? Only the weekend, it had a more between what it made on the first week and the second week. 65% of that money wasn't recouped, right? So let's say, simple example. First week, an opening week, it made 100 million, right? Next week, it only made $35 million. A Marvel movie with Black Widow, one of iconic characters. But also, as Valiant mentioned, this movie had a dual release. So we not only had theater, but we had another additional $60 million that weekend that came from people paying the extra fee so they could see in Premier Access Black Widow. Okay? So really, it's sort of like, it's a mix between people didn't want to go to the movie theater at a time, and as well, there was a siphoning off, is the effect that most people are citing that happened with Black Widow. Okay? Meanwhile, here in comparison, its younger brother, Shang Chi. It had a 53% drop from the first weekend it opened to the last. Okay? Meaning that around a little bit over half the money they made in the first weekend, they only made it this weekend. What's significant is that this movie doesn't have the dual release. Okay, so there is no argument that drop was caused because people didn't watch, in theaters, didn't go and watch it, right? It's not just people didn't go after the first week. And part of the reason we make emphasis on this number is because Marvel's movie box office is usually pushed by repeat viewings by the hardcore fans. But right now, what we're seeing is we're not having that repeat viewing effect. Okay, but what we have to mention, and I want this to be clear, is that remember, most movies on average have been having around a 60 to 70% drop on their second weekend.
Yes.
Shang-Chi had a lower drop, but still one that may be worrying to investors.
Why is that? Because last week you were gloom and doom. Are you less gloom and doom about this? About these numbers now?
Like right now, unfortunately, because I don't have some additional data to help me model a bit more. What I'm seeing is that it's having a much stronger performance than most people have expected, right?
Mhm.
But this could be by additional series of factors that we have to
Mhm.
take into account either way. We can't just assume, because the problem here is every single movie that has been like, let's call a success before, or has made or been a flop here in the pandemic,
Mhm.
Mhm.
has had a very different series of factors around it. Number of theaters, if there was a dual release, if what time of the year they opened it, and also if there was
Mhm.
anything else tying to it that could push the sales.
I
And
want to
that's the
go.
problem.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go ahead,
I have,
Pablo. I
yeah.
have a
Okay,
question about
there's
Malignant though afterwards.
Okay.
okay. There's something to talk about here in this specific instance. First, you need to see that they made $60 million on Disney Plus. That's interest on Black Widow, right? If you take exactly the same households for Shang-Chi, this is interest on Shang-Chi. From Black Widow will be interest on Marvel in general, right?
Mhm.
You might get that retention from those people going to see Shang-Chi because there's nothing on Disney Plus. I don't think piracy was so big a hit as we thought on Black Widow. It was still a hit, but same scene,
Mhm. Mhm.
there was intention of viewing Shang-Chi, and there was intention on viewing Black Widow. On Black Widow, they had less theaters, and they had other options to watch it. So if it's retention for the brand, for Marvel, I will say maybe that $60 million on households
Mhm.
became tickets on the theater. Other than that, you can see that even though it has a lesser drop, the tendency still prevails. There's a tendency for current times on movies. You have a first weekend, a huge influx of people.
Mhm.
Second weekend, uh, and I was calculating this to go to 40% to actually make money. It went to 53%. So that means it's even a steeper decline than I thought. But then you have basically a moment of stasis, a moment where the views basically keep the same for a couple of weeks.
Mhm.
So that's the moment where you can actually see it recouping money. And even if it gets a bit more of a boost, it might make money.
Mhm.
But I'm still 10 to 15% under the target.
Mhm.
There's a chance to me being wrong and this going maybe a 5% over target, and that will get it actual money.
Hmm.
Great. Okay, so right on time too. Valiant Renegade is here joining us. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Hello,
So
Valiant.
I'm in my office today, and while I got internet back at my house
Mhm.
finally Friday night last week
Mhm.
after Ida, I don't have internet back in my office, so I'm still on cellular data here. So I'm just saying that in case
Yeah,
I drop out or it
Yeah.
gets a little
no
sketchy.
worries. It's a little droppy, but we're glad you're here. I had a question, and now that you're here, so you Diego Valiant had said that Malignant was already written off as a loss.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Because it cost a lot to make for a horror film, $40 million, correct?
Yep. For the
Yeah.
standards of horror films in general, it is a very considerable budget.
I mean, Valiant, you're saying that they wrote that off already?
Well, no, I don't mean to imply that they necessarily wrote it off. I'm sure they were hoping for a better performance at the theater than they did.
Sure.
But just for the audience out there watching, just as a reminder, or maybe some people just don't realize. So early this year, before they announced this upcoming merger that they're going to try to do between Warner and Discovery, where David Zaslav is going to come in, Jason Kilar, who is running Warner Studios, Warner Media, he made the commitment that everything, their entire slate of 2021 releases from Warner Studios was going to go day and date release onto HBO Max for free. So, unlike Disney Premier Access There wasn't going to be an additional fee. So either you have a $9.99 monthly subscription or a $14.99 monthly subscription to HBO Max, you get all these movies for free. So they were trying to build the subscriber base for HBO Max. They knew going in that was going to shank their box office returns and that they were probably going to take more losses than normal. So I'm not saying that they specifically looked at Malignant and said, screw it.
Right.
But they
right.
knew going in that they were going to do this.
Let me ask you this. Do we know if they have any of Juan's library movies?
They have all of them.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, James Wan, all the stuff with Conjuring is Warner. That's through their distribution channel.
Yeah, real fast. Because I see Malignant being one of like Juan's, like, you know, his loyal fans. Like they're it's going to be their cult favorite.
Yeah.
It's so fucking bonkers. But
yeah, I enjoyed it. I did, and I love all.
Oh,
of
you
James
saw it?
Wan's.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, I watched it. I couldn't go to the theater because we still don't have theaters back yet because one of our two major internet providers is still trying to get this area up and running in a lot of places. So none of the theaters have yet been able to reopen. So I did get to watch it on HBO Max. I wanted to go see it in the theater. Like I wanted to go see Shang-Chi. I wanted to check it out. I just have not been able to because I can't.
Right.
Yeah, I liked it. And yes, you're right. It was a little bonkers. You know, it's not quite in the same vein as the Conjuring franchise, which I really adore. I love Wan's work. But I still enjoyed it, you know?
Yeah, it's just different. And I was, you know, we can review it, you know, we'll get back to the numbers, but it's, you know, it's just, it does get better, but I think there is a genius to that film that you know, you're either going to get or not get. You know, but yeah, it's crazy, man. Okay, so I did too see it here on HBO as well. And Mrs. Slant, who's a huge Juan fan, fell asleep. She hated it, but I said, you know what? Let's see it again. You know, because it gets better. You know, so we'll see what because she's a huge horror and thriller fan. Loves the Conjuring movies, so maybe it'll be. So from these numbers, how much? It's not going to make much more money, do you think, in the theaters?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's they're gonna rake in what they can, and they're gonna move on. What I am waiting for, and I think we should probably see it sometime this afternoon, if not tomorrow. You know, Samba TV has been pretty good and consistent about releasing their metrics on streaming, especially this year. So I expect to see some numbers from Samba TV if you follow their Twitter page. They'll probably pop something out on Malignant sometime later today, and they'll say, you know, X number of U.S. households. It might be 1 million U.S. households watched Malignant this weekend or something like that. And then they'll usually put out numbers internationally, at least for like the UK and places like that. Just like they have for Disney movies. They did it with Black Widow. They basically confirmed the Disney Plus numbers that you were talking about with Black Widow. 60 million in that opening weekend. They confirmed 1.1 million U.S. households watched Black Widow its opening weekend on Disney Plus. So that would be $33 million right there. And the rest of it came from the international markets that Disney Plus engages in.
Okay, let's get to the comparison. And as you bring that up, Deigo, I'm going to ask you guys again, what does, now with these numbers, we'll start with Valiant first. What does Shang-Chi need to make to break even and to make money?
Well, again, you know, with Hollywood movies, it's a little difficult to pin it down to an exact science just because you never really know what was actually spent. There are stated budgets, and then there's what was spent. So for me, I look at Shang-Chi, there's a few components here, and some other people have come up with their numbers, and I think their math is good. I just don't know if they plugged in all the necessary variables. Number one, Shang-Chi had a $200 million production budget, just like all of these Marvel movies in recent years do. Now, it was reported that net cost came down to 150 million because they got a pretty healthy $50 million Australian tax credit. Okay,
I heard
so
around the
that's
same. I heard around 150, 175. Okay.
Yep. So that's in there. Now, given that most of these Marvel movies, you can factor they spend at least 50% again on top of that for marketing budget. So if the production budget was actually 200, they spent about another 100 million on marketing. Not the 50% of the 150 that they got netted out with the tax credit, but of the whole budget. So that puts us at 300 million before the tax credit. There's also additional, and this is across the board, all these movies that were delayed for a year. These studios don't just write checks out of their own pocket to pay for these things. They finance it. They use lines of credit. So Disney probably had an extra $10 to $12 million in interest costs to hold this movie and delay it, just like Black Widow, just like all the other movies that they delayed for an entire year. And that's just if they were paying 5%. So when you look at an average box office take on a global scale, it's usually around 50%, okay? Because you're getting less from foreign markets, you're getting a little bit more in domestic markets, averages out to around 50% traditionally.
Okay.
So if you look at that and you say, even with the tax credit, they're into this thing, total cost with the interests and everything else of around 260 to 270 million. And that's if they didn't spend more on the marketing than we assume, which they probably did,
Sure.
just because of the delay. So you have to take all that into account. So you're looking at like, at least around 425 to 450 million for a break-even point, at least.
Okay. Gotcha. Pablo.
Something to consider about Black Widow there is they actually had to double tap on publicity. They had a run of publicity, they had to delay the movie, and they had to do a whole new run of publicity. So that's an extra value to Black Widow that they will actually regret on the future, to be honest.
Deigo, before I get to you, really fast, Read by Nature says Shang-Chi was bland. Wasn't just bland. There were no stakes. Wing Wu never intended to kill in his son. And he goes on to saying, though I have to say the cinema was packed last Saturday when I saw it. Rob won out in the observatory in regards to, I assume, Malignant, flop, 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 a failure. And then regarding Valiant Renegade, Carmine Red, dang, Australia. And representing all Iron Taco
chicken farmers.
Yeah, Iron Taco trucks around the nation. Mexican Iron Man. Oh, no problem. Or rabbit chicken. Poor rabbit chicken. Oh,
teriyaki rabbit chicken.
Orale. All right. Yeah, he's really get your t-shirts made. He's really pushing the rabbit chicken thing, Valiant. Diego, what do you got?
He loves that.
He does.
Okay. Yeah. This, as we mentioned before, is a comparative chart of the domestic ticket sales for specific movies. In this case, we have Black Widow, Shang Chi, Godzilla, and Mortal Kombat, which are the movies that came out during the pandemic, just to give a bit of a scale in comparison with other studios. Okay, so just to clear up a bit, the blue is Black Widow, the red is Shang Chi because it's barely in the second week, so it doesn't have the tendency curve. Then we have Godzilla vs. King Kong and Mortal Kombat, right? As you can see, of course, Marvel still has a dominance in what is the ticket sales, the scales. Okay, that's just in the visual aspect as well. But once we go down here, this is the important graph, because here we can see on the opening weekend the number of theaters and the maximum number of theaters.
Can you make this bigger? Like, can you?
Let's see.
Yeah, there you go. I'm an old man. I have old eyes, Valiant. I'm older than you, Valiant.
There we go. Okay.
All right.
Okay, this is on on the release date, how much they made each one. So projected budget, 150 million for Shang-Chi, 200 for Black Widow, Godzilla was 155, Mortal Kombat was 55 million. During its opening weekend, the first weekend, Shang-Chi had 4,300 theaters open, Black Widow had 4,160, Godzilla had only 3064, and Mortal Kombat had similar 3073. By the end, like by the maximum number of theaters open right now, Shang-Chi still remains at 4,300. Black Widow had an additional 115 more open. Godzilla only had 20 more open, and Mortal Kombat had an additional 41 open.
But these aren't fair to Mortal Kombat, Godzilla, or Black Widow because less theaters were just open to begin with, correct?
Yes, correct.
There's a pointer there. They had less theaters, but they had streaming, so that might change the outlook of the movie overall.
Okay.
Yeah,
exactly.
Valen, you want to say anything?
No, I was going to say Diego's right on point. He goes down to these metrics, and this is what really needs to be observed. Godzilla versus Kong and Mortal Kombat in particular, when you look at the numbers there, understand that at that point, most theaters, even if they weren't closed, they still had dramatic seating capacity restrictions. Black Widow, middle of the summer, the theaters were mostly wide open everywhere. Same thing with Shang-Chi. And then, and again, Godzilla versus Kong, Mortal Kombat, both of these were Warner Brothers distribution releases. They were day and date on HBO Max for free. So if you look at Mortal Kombat, you think, it only did 83 million. Well, it did, but look at the production budget was nothing for that movie. So while it still lost money at the box office, it dragged a lot of new subscribers into HBO Max. Godzilla versus Kong basically made money at the box office when you look at the global and the international numbers. But again, it dragged a bunch of new subs into HBO Max. So
real fast before you go on, Tom of Midnight's Edge After Dark, it's going to have a tough time making 450 to 500 million, and it needs to do a third of that in the US at least. You guys agree?
Well, he's
about
not
right.
wrong.
No, yes, that's correct. But I mean, that's the thing. He said about a third, and look at the number right now. Domestic, it's 145. It almost done that third.
Yeah.
Okay. So
The real issue,
all right.
The real issue is traction internationally. If you see, this is the lowest international movie on the Marvel spectrum. So,
right
for now. But like
Godzilla did amazing internationally.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, because we love Godzilla.
Deigo,
exactly. That's what I want to touch. The theatrical engagements. This means how many showings they had, right? If I'm not mistaken, during that time, right?
Okay.
As you can see, Shang-Chi is on the lower end of the spectrum. That means how many people actually in theaters have gone to see it in comparison. For example, Godzilla versus King Kong. How many showings they've had on its opening weekend?
Deigo, let me ask you something. That number is for the international and domestic markets together.
If I'm not mistaken, for what Culture explains, this is just domestic.
That is just domestic. Okay.
Real fast, guys. Just because he showed up in the chat, and I want to thank all 24 people in the chat and people commenting. Thank you so much for being here. Member Glogo13 Anime 101. I know he's got his channel. He's rocking the shows, but he just upgraded here to general. And Glogo, my brother, I got this for you. Real fast, and it's ready to go. It is a movie called Sideways from Kenneth Castillo. And that is just my small way of thanking you for being a great member and for upgrading. I got a couple other gifts as well to other different members, but I'm happy that everyone, member or not, subscribers, or if you're just watching, thank you guys for being here. All right, let's continue.
Okay. As I was saying, this has to do with regards of domestic numbers. Okay, everything before the international box office, everything is related to domestic. Just to get more clearance. But what I'm trying to say here is that Godzilla versus King Kong had a much higher engagement than, for example, Mortal Kombat, Black Widow, or Shang-Chi. That means people were more interested in going to see it, and that's why they had to put more showings in theaters. So, but that's more of a like they use as an indicator of interest for the consumer. So it's a poignant importance here because of how to show why also it gives much of a tendency as well for the international box office. But we'll see that later. Okay, this is the fun one for me.
Okay.
Opening weekend, right?
Okay. Yes.
Because here you can clearly see the difference in scale of the number of theaters. Like if we try to put in an actual number that most people understand how much of a difference it was.
Right.
Because Mortal Kombat and King Kong about 3,000 theaters. They had a 32 for King Kong, Godzilla vs King Kong, and Mortal Kombat at $23 million each. Okay. Meanwhile, Black Widow and Shang Chi had with over 4,000 theaters each, an 80 million for Black Widow and a 75 million for Shang-Chi, showing first that, yes, in comparison, both Marvel movies, at least in the first weekend performance, have a very similar showing. Okay? But still, what is important here is to show that Black Widow still has a bit more interest in Shang-Chi because even though Shang-Chi had more theaters, it couldn't even reach the same numbers. People were more interested in Black Widow either way, when those who went to theaters. Right?
Valiant, would you like to say anything?
No, I was just going to let him kind of keep going down because, like I said,
Sure.
he's kind of touched on it.
No problem.
Shang-Chi, where it fell short was really in the international box. This is what really hurt it, and the other thing that hurt it, and this is what I said in my video. And again, I was not knocking the film itself. I haven't seen it. I can't knock it. I haven't seen it.
But all those people saying that you're a hater.
Oh God! It's
you can thank them for monetizing you.
I have thanked them many times for that one. So
yes.
What I my contention was that the big problem with this is none of that Premier Access money. That's 60 million in the opening weekend for Black Widow, almost between 120 and 150 million total now where we stand. None of that came over in that first weekend for Shang-Chi. Not a penny of it. It basically paced Black Widow that opening 3 days. I'm not talking about Monday, but that 3-day opening. And even if you add Monday in, they were only about 3-4 million apart with Shang-Chi beating Black Widow. None of that 60 million in Disney Plus money really showed up at the theaters. And, you got people out there packing college football stadiums, NFL stadiums, concerts, everything else. This is the same core demographic that has thrown $23 billion at the MCU in the last 13 years. Where were they for this? That's my question. So,
Deigo.
Okay. Touching a bit more about what Valiant was saying. Yes, right now this is what the domestic box office cut off. So Shang-Chi's is the only one we really can't compare because it's a 2 weeks against the entire run of 3 other movies. So it's a bit more different. But just the fact is that Shang-Chi, even though it's on its second week, it is reaching numbers comparable to Black Widow. It is outshot Mortal Kombat, outshot Godzilla vs King Kong. But again, these are movies that these 3 movies had their own dual releases, right? So, but at least numbers-wise, Shang-Chi is showing a stronger performance with people who go to theaters. But again, this is where we have to. I'm going to go back to the graph for a sec, where we have to see what the variation between this week and the next, like the last week and this week that comes. How much is it? Because for people to understand what I'm talking about, when we talk about the decline 50%, is how the curve starts to flatten out. Okay, that difference is what causes this to happen. So
Yes,
the smaller change there is between every week or every day, you start seeing an even bigger flattening out. So the problem is right now we're still at the initial stages of what is the growth, right?
To be more specific, what you are seeing on the other ones is the actual traction. The amount of people that will go and rewatch the movie or has an intention to watch a movie but had some issue and they didn't go week 1 or week 2. So
it's like 30 days there for Black Widow.
Yes.
It kept going up.
Yes.
Can you go back up to that? So what a lot of people are saying that is the all-important second weekend. So the second weekend's come and gone, right?
Yes.
So how does it look? You know, I'm just
Okay.
asking as a regular moviegoer here.
Okay. This is where I try to talk into different kinds of perspectives, because you got to understand that for what one person might seem like a success, for another it might seem a disaster. And what do I mean? Second weekend, we had a fall of 53%. And why is that significant? Yes, true. It is going the same tendency as any Marvel movie would be going, because of how it's, almost the same with Black Widow, right? But what's important here is that difference of 53%, even though it also shows that there was a bit more interest of moviegoers going to see Black Widow, Shang Chi than Black Widow, since it didn't have that drop, is the fact that it's still a significant drop that for investors it could make them nervous.
Yes.
Of actually keep pumping money into Marvel if they see that this becomes a tendency, right? Where you have drops with that huge, over 50%. So that's the thing. That's why I said we have to see it in different perspectives, because for most people who watch this number, they say, it's making money, it's even better. But then after, when you take into account the comparison, that's where you got to understand the people who have the money, who pump the money, they're not going to necessarily like that number. They want something smaller.
As an investor, they want to see that line keep going up, not plateauing.
Yes, they want to see that line going up as much as long as it can before it plateaus. If we're trying to be ideal, okay, this is the what dream of any investor is that a movie has at least half of its run is in a constant growth.
Nice.
That's the ideal.
Pablo.
Okay, this is the reality on how these numbers will be presented, not if these are good or bad numbers, but how it will be presented to shareholders and to the public. I work on marketing, right? So we normally will get some company to tell us we need to make these numbers pretty for the shareholders. That is something that has happened to me a lot. And they will go, we need a spin, we need to make this sound good. So what are the markers that we can actually say to the shareholders that makes this a success, even though we lost money? And I mean that on the medical field, right? So this is something that is done all over the every single industry. You will look for something like, this is the best movie on this weekend, or this is the best movie on this particular date of the year on the current situation. And you will tell that. You don't want to say it is losing money or it is losing traction or momentum. You want to say it already made something, it already is important, it already is special, right? And that's what you will see on the investors call for Disney. They will try to make the numbers pretty. They will try to convince the people there that everything is all right. So this, more than the numbers, what I'm seeing is the impact that this will have with the customer and with the shareholders, and the amount of lies that will come from this. Because Disney is not a company that will actually tell the truth. It's not a company that is based on truth. It's based on illusions. And the biggest illusion is to the shareholders.
Okay, a Valiant.
Sorry. Like I said, I'm at the office. I had to take a phone call real quick.
That's all right. It's all right. We can go on.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to boogie out, but I'm listening. But yeah, everything y'all are talking about is right. You can market this, and of course, everybody wants to, everybody wants to show how good of a. Everybody wants to show how good of a weekend a movie's going to have. So they're going to position it as it's the best movie that ever did this or the best movie that ever did that. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter in terms of the finances, in terms of turning a profit or breaking even. You still have to, there's still that number that you have to hit doesn't change. So you can sell it all you want. But, when you look at it from a 30,000 foot view, it still has issues. Now, look, I'm not rooting for this thing to be a loss for Disney, but it just looks like that's where it's going. I had my qualms about it going in, not because of the movie itself, not because of who was in it. Didn't care about any of that. My big thing was when you take a movie like this to launch a brand new phase of Marvel, and you've never introduced this character before, and it's a character that nobody for the most part, has ever really heard of. you're running this risk, and this was kind of the thing. So look, I hope, I hope I turn out to be wrong and Disney's successful with it. But right now, I just don't see how this is tracking in, enough to where it's going to cross that threshold in the primary market of a theater.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Valiant, thank you for your time, man. Thanks for stopping on by. Go check out Valiant on his YouTube page. Is that video up yet?
Which the new one?
Yeah, your latest one?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll put your link in the chat for sure, man. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, man. Good to see you. Take care.
Good to see,
Nice being a stream.
Take care.
good to see your logo. I'll see your face sometime soon. God bless,
All right,
brother.
guys.
God bless.
Adios.
Real fast, before we get to a couple of theories, and then we'll wrap it up. Vigilante Williamson, what's up, brother? It's hard to call this a hard failing with the drop-off is standard. I looked up yesterday, and the drop-off was less than Civil War percentage-wise. Carmine Red says, yeah, the second week hold is quite respectable. The muddiness happens when you try to account for D+. I saw a comparison for Shang Chi that made it look pretty similar to Ant-Man and the Wasp. And then Reed by nature says creative accounting.
Exactly.
Okay.
Carmine goes on to say, my worry is international.
Yeah, that's the one thing I wanted to touch about before we go to the last table.
Right. Yeah,
which
go
is
ahead.
the
Touch
favorite
on the
one.
international for sure.
Okay. As you can see right now with the international box office, right? Shang-Chi is going $112 million, right? But why is this important is the fact that usually, and this is what is a tendency, we're talking about a country like the US, that's domestic market here, is 300 million people, while the rest of the planet is 6.7 billion people. Why do I mention this? That Shang-Chi is the first movie I've seen in many years where domestic box office has actually outperformed the international box office. Usually it's the other way around. Look, for example, Black Widow. Domestic, 183 million. International, 187 million. Basically, it's almost a half-half split. Godzilla, 100 million in the US, 367 million outside of the US. Okay? Some factors that we can attribute this is the fact that both, if I'm not mistaken, Black Widow and as well Shang-Chi have not had a China release. Okay, which is significant because we estimated at least it's at least for its opening weekend was another $120 million that were off the table for Shang-Chi. So actually, that number should be twice as much as what it is right now.
Yeah.
So that's the significant thing, because also a Marvel movie, as you have noticed always, is that it has a very international feeling. Yes, it's a very American cast per se. Okay. But it's always in different places around the world in the universe. It's never per se exactly in the U.S., right? So it always has this feel that can connect with the audience. But right now, Shang-Chi, even though it's gone to China and it's very influenced in Chinese themes, it's not connecting. Why? Because it's too influenced for China. It has too much of China, so it's very specific. So not many people can connect to it. So it's not, it's not making that bond. Unless people go and see like a kung fu movie and they're going to see as a Marvel movie, that's where I think also there's a cognitive dissonance for people where it breaks for them, and that's why there's not much hype to watch this movie internationally speaking.
All right, well, let's go into theories on why it's let's say quote unquote successful second weekend and why it's doing well. Before we do that, thank you to all the wrenches and members of the channel. Thank you to everyone here watching our special box office report this Monday. Wintrell, Geek Tropology, says cash was injected into Shang-Chi to pad the numbers. Disney has backup money to burn to save face.
Okay, I will go directly there.
I think that goes into your theory.
Yeah, this is the thing. I have seen and I have done actually this kind of stuff. If you want to be technical, is legal money laundering. And it works like this. Okay, you have a foundation, a small group of people that are dedicated, let's say, to take care of children of Asian descent, right? And you will go and give that foundation a donation from Disney, a huge donation, so they can go and purchase tickets, right? They will get those kids to watch the movie, and everything is all right. This is the issue. You give that money from your pocket. You give it to that foundation. That foundation buys something that is from you, and you get a loss of money that, in this case, in tickets, will be at 25%. So if you say Disney spent $10 million on tickets, they actually only lost 2.5 millions. The rest will go back to them as a cash influx from the earnings of the movie, right? So that is something that can actually happen. That is something that is done in ballet a lot. They will pay the tickets for a lot of kids. The company that owns the real money is giving it as a tax exemption because they are giving charity to someone, so they can take that out of the taxes that they are paying, and then they will receive that money back. So instead of losing all that cash to taxes, they only lost a small portion of that money, and it's legal because it's an actual way to make that money flow. You are spending it on a social cause. That social cause just decided to purchase something from you. You are not really connected. So that is magic that you can do to move money and get that money clean. I don't think that is a huge impact here. I will be honest. I think that maybe they are trying to keep the momentum on the movie and try to boost it a bit, but that will be at best $20 million. And those $20 million compared to what it has earned is still too low to make it a real impact. So even my theory is not accounting for the real strength of this movie, and that the strength is that it had some better retention than Black Widow. That is completely true.
Okay.
Diego.
Okay. Mine is very simple. I call this the Spider-Man effect, for lack of a better term. Why do I mean that? First, is the fact that this is what I saw in trends, that the moment that Spider-Man trailer came out, right, the Shang Chi movie lost any traction in most of the world, including Latin America. But the moment that they announced the date for Spider-Man was in December and Shang Chi was coming in September, traction for Shang Chi started ramping up again to the point that was number one in most of South America.
Okay.
And why I mention this is because I feel that one of the reasons why it's having retention is because since Spider-Man is coming and you clearly have a connection with Doctor Strange in that movie, people are watching it not necessarily for FOMO, but more for like to see what it connects with, if it connects with Spider-Man, right? And that's why people are going to see it. That's why it has more interest, as well as the fact that it is a more solid movie than Black Widow. And also Black Widow is a movie that feels that is like 5 years too late for when it should have come out, you know? And so it feels more disconnected with the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the sense of the timeline than Shang-Chi, even though Shang-Chi feels like a different movie, not a Marvel movie at all. Black Widow had a much bigger disconnect, I feel, for the fans.
Yes.
So that's why it didn't have that capacity to keep the traction. Well, Shang-Chi, you have a very interesting diagram where you have people want to see it because of Spider-Man, people want to see it because it's Marvel, and people who want to see it because it's a Kung Fu movie.
Exactly.
So, and because of it's all those factors, there's now three groups who are interested in this.
Yeah.
Right? It has more they are more prone to actually go and see it to keep it from falling. So that's why I feel that the Spider-Man trailer actually, even though at first, visually speaking, we thought we saw it killed Shang-Chi in Eternal's hype, it might have actually helped keep interest in Shang-Chi at least.
Okay. Mexican Iron Man comes in for $4.99. Thank you so much, Mike. Great job, Paulie. Guys, great job with analysis. I'll forever hail the greatness of Latino Slant.
Arriba!
Yeah. Well, you know, que viva la raza,
Que viva!
que viva. And I'm gonna give a little. I'll do a little plug on why I said que viva la raza when I really close up shop today, because I want you guys to pay attention and make sure you're gonna check out our show Wednesday night. And thank you, Mexican Iron Man. Great. Okay. Well, anything else really quick, guys? I want to wrap it up and also make sure we go and raid Midnight's Edge. They're not live yet, just yet, which is great. We can still go for a few more minutes.
I think the only thing we have to keep in mind for people watching this, okay, like the whole developing of the story of Shang-Chi, is the fact that this is a very wait and see game, because Shang-Chi is happening in a scenario that most people haven't seen in 100 years, right? And also it's in a scenario where where it's the start of a new phase. My girlfriend made me much emphasis on this. Is this a start of a new phase? That's why there's lack of interest also. And it's like, I'm starting to think that maybe she's right, that because people felt Endgame ended Marvel MCU, right? It's sort of trying to restart the engine once again, and it will take time. So I also think that we should right now wait and see how it goes, how it develops with Shang-Chi specifically, before we can call it a true flop or a true success. Because in all honesty, I feel it will be more of a middling success. You know, it makes maybe it breaks even and maybe it goes up a 5-10% over, like has a margin of profit of 5 or 10%. You know, but because also there's a series of factors that are affecting it that didn't affect other Marvel movies. Like, if you want to be technical, compared to Iron Man 1.
Well, thank you guys for your analysis, man. I really appreciate it. Let's wrap it up. I guess the next time we see you guys is tomorrow morning on Midnight's Edge Espanol, no?
See?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add real quick?
Other than this movie kind of reminds me of Kung Pao, in that is a really good Chinese movie modified with American themes superimposed. That is all that I feel now that I'm trying to remember Shang-Chi. So maybe it will be actually good for reviewing on the future, just for the laughs.
Deigo.
All I will say is, to those people out there who are skeptical and already passing judgment, I prefer that you guys watch it before you start passing judgment based on what we are saying, because every person is a more subjective being than an objective being, no matter what. Because I feel that this is one of those rare cases where I think everybody has to see it and get their own conclusions.
All right. Well, I want to thank Valiant Renegade for stopping on by. I want to thank Deigo and Pablo. You can catch them live with me tomorrow night on Midnight's Edge Espanol, which has gotten over the 2,800 subscriber mark. Thank you guys so much. I want to thank everyone that has been here on the show with us right now. Been a fantastic report. I think we might do our box offer. I think we might do this on the regular. We'll figure it out, but it's a good fit. And going right before and into Midnight's Edge, their first Monday show. Make sure you get on over there. Okay, so my theory on why it's doing as better than expected, for me, it's really simple. It's Simu and him mobilizing the communities that he represents. For better for worse, I think he's been doing a valiant job of that. He's been really, you see him, he's been just relentless. And I just been watching and following what he's been doing, and it's pretty unique. It's pretty special. So I think you have to give that a factor in there, especially with the quote unquote normies. You know, they're not going to see anything we just talked about this past hour. They're really not going to they have their other reasons for going to see it, but it does equal dollars, and I do think that has helped out this movie. And if you see Simu just making the rounds, he's everywhere. So that is something to behold. So Que Viva la Raza is a call, a slogan that the Chicano movement has had for many decades, And this Wednesday night, we're going to break down why this Latinx company in the East Coast used it, but then apologized for using it. And, yet they used it to market and make money and cater to the Chicano community.
Mhm.
So what's it going to be? The great Brandon Maxwell from the Daily Chella is going to break it down. We're going to have a great panel. Hopefully Mexican Iron Man will be with us. But this is a big deal because the Chicano community for decades have used the term La Raza, que viva la raza, as one of home pride, community, neighborhood pride. And again, kind of like the Latinx rhetoric of well, let me tell you what words you can and can't use. Okay. This is going to be a good conversation this Wednesday night, 6 p.m. here on the show. Que viva la raza. We're going to talk about why this company shoveled out so much money in the usage of la raza and to the Chicano community, and then backtracked on it. But yet, it's an interesting situation. So I hope we have a great discussion. All right, everybody. Yes, he did. He sure did. Well, where do you think he got it from? Everyone, get on over to Midnight's Edge. And he was. I love Tony. Tony is amazing. Mark your calendars. This Wednesday night will be live. Hopefully, we're going to have some of the... we're going to have a great panel for you guys. For sure. Hey, hola, raza. Darius, so we'll raid Midnight's Edge and say, que viva la raza Latino slant raid. Oh, I like that. Thank you to all the mods. Thank you to, all the wrenches. And yes, all you guys. Thank you. We'll see you soon. Have a great week. Let's take you out with some closing credits.
Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Slant.
Yeah, but isn't this the unplugged version? I don't know. I think it's the unplugged version. All right, Paulie, let's go. All right, listen, y'all. Just go ahead and let the guest play. Come on, jeez. That's better.